Okay, it's all go.
Well, good to go. Well, absolutely welcome members of the public. You are indeed very welcome. As you will have seen, Amy fiddling with the technology out there, this is being live streamed, so and it will be recorded and you can go and rewatch it afterwards on the council YouTube channel. If there is an emergency, you can either leave behind the door you came through or the door behind me. We wait on the playground and we've got a couple of little procedural things to deal with, but we will start our meeting with the current here. So we have apologies, I believe. Second.
Oh.
Okay. The next thing we just do is kind of gathering conflicts of interest being done. What we will now do on your agenda on page 2, we have the minutes of September, and I would move that we confirm them as true and record. And that's to discuss with the victims. So can I go to the table?
Morning. Sit down.
And good morning, Jen. So the normal procedure is we give you 10 minutes and you can tell us what you want. You can make a question at the end. But the floor is yours.
No, let's cover this distribute. My worries. It's visual aid. So Morena, good morning. Nice to see you again. It's your story for today's review. And in the community district in so I first thought I'd share, so that's just the satellite overview of Lane. The red circled area is the dump station, and the wider piece of road is the dump station. The light blue lines, the one toward the bottom of the piece of paper is the footpath that the kids use to get from the school to the pool. And the one that comes through the park is the public walkway through Constantine Park that joins up with the Carlton Walkway which is down the end of this road. But the little orange highlights are just the driveways along with this name. So I'm Lisa. We own a number of top 10 holiday park and we lease this land from council. And we're asking you to review the proposed bylaw with regards to vendors. There are a number of access and health and safety issues which make freedom camping inappropriate in this location. So looking first at the issue of access. There are a number of reasons we believe this lane is unsuitable for freedom camping. So the majority of the lane is too narrow for parking. So it's in the lane, cars already have to move on to berms, pedestrians have to move off the road and vehicles coming along the road. And other than on the grass farms, which is sloping and unusable during wet weather. The only area within this lane that is wide enough for parking is the area around our dump station. But parking there will limit access to the dump station facility, which is the council facility, and prevent those using it from being able to turn around. So we're talking, I mean, everything from 5 metre motorhomes to 8 metre caravans to 11 metre fifth wheel RVs. It's also a no exit lane. So the only other turning opportunities are on private driveways, and that's already causing us access issues. It takes quite a while to get from the house to the motorhomes. And it's also causing access issues for other residents. road. That also brings with it a number of safety issues. There is an inherent risk with vehicles attempting to turn on a narrow road. International tourists in particular may not be experienced or have their vehicles for very long. Using narrow private driveways to turn is a safety issue for residents, holiday park guests and staff, and users of the pool. Both the holiday park and the pool are heavily used by children over summer who are less road aware. We do have particular concerns about the level and mix of traffic during the mornings. So the Level 4 studio, which is down towards the end of the road, runs group classes every morning. So there's increased traffic there, and from our place, so our guests look to leave, and the dump station also tends to be busier. Adding freedom camping into that mix, so vehicles parked on the side of the road will also increase the risk of accidents. It's a popular walking area, so the walkway in the story walking Hotstone Park join up with the walk that goes around Palace Vineyard at the end of the design. It's motorhomes and caravans don't mix well with pedestrians. There are health and safety review measures. We have safety laws in place on the holiday park, including a 5K speed limit, none of which exists on the Tasmania. I'd like to, I'm just going to go off script around, I'd like to address two things, because one of them, obviously we own a holiday park, but I'd just like to point out that people who choose to freedom camp on the side of the roads in urban areas aren't our customers. So this isn't about business. And then the other thing is I think we need to acknowledge the fact that the presence of the pool with which is free with its free showers, the dump station and the holiday park, all bring campers into this area. So I totally accept that there are other similarly narrow roads around the district, but the positioning of those three facilities will encourage campers into that area. So I just think that exacerbates the issues I'm talking about. I would also like to address the potential for negative impacts on the health, safety and security of our guests and team. So shower and toilet facilities in the majority of self-contained vehicles cracked. There's the added unpleasant task of having to clean the toilet waste canister. In addition, most have limited power and the occupants still have to find somewhere to decide their rubbish. In contrast, campers who choose to play with us have unlimited access to high-pressure hot showers, steam flushing toilets, rubbish bins, cooking facilities, power, playgrounds, compliant security. I have an analogy. I think inviting people to camp for free outside of a holiday park and expecting them to resist the temptation to use those facilities, like asking a leopard to sleep next to an open bag of food and then being surprised at people accept. So to fill our obligations towards our guests and the health and safety, we have overnight security provided by an old special manager who lives in the house, which is directly adjacent to the entrance of the holiday park, so opposite the dump station. For 11 years, Frank and I, when we lost count of the number of freedom campers trying to use our facilities without paying. Over those years, guests have had belongings stolen from the communal facilities, and we have been personally sworn at and physically threatened when asking trespassers to leave. So as well as increasing the likelihood of my team having to confront people who are legally on the holiday park after dark, having freedom campers on Vintners Lane will have a negative impact on sleep patterns and mental health of our site team members who I do speak with experience there. So as such, we're asking that the full length of Vintners Lane is included as a prohibited area to preserve access to the dump station for the safety of residents and the users of Vintners Lane and for the health and safety of our guests and team. Council may also wish to consider prohibiting freedom camping for 500 metres or some other prescribed distance of the dump station facility to prevent access to those. Okay.
I think we really want to be a good neighbour. We know, speaking to our neighbours and from these additions there, we attract the freedom campers that then stay on the side of the road outside of us. We see there's some real benefits from freedom camping down the coast, especially for access for locals down the coast. With they should get it, they should be able to go there for a low cost holiday, go and have some seafood and that kind of stuff. But this is a better thing. This is about people that we attract, and our neighbours get annoyed, and our neighbours get annoyed with us. And this in the situation there is even less that we can do about it. We have to just live with it. And that's not okay for us. So
I'd also like to note that at the moment, although there's no violence, so they can stay there now, but the minute you publish a bylaw that says it is permitted for 72 for 3 nights effectively on the road opposite the dump station and with no end down the end of the lane, then you're effectively, you're advertising. Because, yeah, that's straight on to the lane. Tourists talk to each other, particularly the international that travel around.
It's like that. Argument, but we skip with that one thing, I think. Then in terms of, I've talked to some of the people that live down there, and to do with the turning, and using people's drives there, they chew them up and quite a significant cost, especially on the tickets of like hay sort of down there. Yeah, totally bugs people's, they drive those big things to them down there. Yeah, so it's really very, I know a lot of residents down there. Really proud to say it, yeah.
But if it's like, oh, I'm getting on over. So adding to the driveway so far that they're going to do garden or final lights of the driveway. So
Yeah. Because I don't really much, and that road was just full of potholes.
Yes.
I'll just follow up with a question related to that. And when you talk about that dump station, I take it what you mean is something that people come in the problem with sewage.
Yes.
Yeah. So if that's, is that the only dump station within reasonable?
That's the only dump station in Martinborough, yeah.
So what percentage of people would bring a caravan down there or a motorhome and not use the dump station?
that would be our guess.
That would be your guess.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of locals that at the end of their holidays, something that's straightforward.
Yeah.
But they've got away and they'll come back and then they're getting the right way, so people stop there to basically clean the toilets and flood the water and then off. Right.
Yeah.
And that's
So, I mean, after fixing weekends of the coast, you'll see a queue sometimes. So people waiting to use the dump station. And our guests tend to come out of our driveway. And they don't always have the same, I think, but we do have some big groups in, but yeah, if they'll come into us, they can fill up the water with us and probably. And our guests tend to be staying in holiday parks pretty much every night, so they have less limited with dump station facilities and some that's in out the coast for 3 days.
But if you've got those people, as you say, they come back on their holiday, and they're going to come down Bedford's Lane, are they now going to be destroying people's driveways, would say?
Will that be?
Well, not so much, well, so I think the point is, so if you take a quick drive down Bedford's Lane, so the dump station is set off to the side, and then the road has been, yeah, it's right, and then the road has been widened opposite to the lane of turning. The major concern about increasing damage is that effectively by saying free camping is permitted down there, is that this area that's available for turning becomes unavailable, which means they will have no option but to prohibit some people's driveways. It does happen sometimes at the moment when that they carry on down the road when the station is busy, because again that can limit their turning. We have buses quite regularly will drive up the road, use the right hand side of the dump station, and then we'll reverse back into our driveway and come up this way rather than doing this spin. So that's kind of a whole different issue, I think. But there is the opportunity if we're inviting people to park for extended periods opposite that station, there is no opportunity for people to turn anywhere other than in driveways.
Yeah, I don't really have any questions. And just to say, much for the presentation, it was really well put together and thought out. And you know, we have intentions behind why we're looking at this bylaw, and causing grief for people is not one of those intentions. So yeah, it's really good concept.
Thank you.
And thank you for the picture too, because I think it really is about.
It's pretty good. I think it's pretty busy out there. I mean, with the improvements that have gone on in Constant Park, is really quite heavy usage of Constant Park. This is walkers and you know, people going around there, the kids are from school, and especially now the pool's open this weekend, so we're gonna get the students and kids over from the school, so there's a lot more people moving around town, public moving around being people there, yeah, it's really long piece of road and park.
And I think the common, you know, whether it being a shared road,
Yeah.
Which will sort of type and. Road.
Yeah.
It's only a group.
So thank you very much.
Oh, pleasure, thank you.
Thanks. Well, I believe that there was some problems, so.
It was a walkover.
Run before they come.
Next thing.
Okay, this one, I couldn't find this anywhere online yesterday.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now on our website, so we've got a meetings section.
Oh, meetings.
Yeah,
Okay,
and so all of our meetings and the agenda.
so pick up the meetings, not submissions or items or anything like that.
That's good feedback.
Yeah, because I showed last time too, so.
Yeah.
It's under meetings.
Cool.
Yeah.
No, I don't know,
It's just not, you don't know, it's just like common sense to you, but it's, yeah.
exactly.
Okay, so we're at the coast, and as you can see from my brief submission, it's on page 65. We have no problems with freedom camping. We don't mind if it was our immediate neighbour, the Doyles, along our road, mind freedom camping, Torah. But I don't see how you're going to possibly do the 28 days because you've got no ranger coming in. And also the receipts are disgraced anyway, so they've deteriorated. There's nothing that's been maintained anymore. But we've had over the years, I know definitely I've got correspondence from 1957 onwards about reserves, what the council's going to do with lots of plans from this time, and nothing's ever eventuated from any of those plans. So this is a bad situation, that's freedom camping, what they expect. So toilets are great, so you've got toilets. North Shore Reserve and South Shore Reserve, but they're now going, because the sea has come in and the sand's just built up, and so where there used to be originally caravans was parked down there permanently, because they were doing 80 years ago, and that's why they've one or room for no caravans or whatever, which is fine to have a caravan for a few days, or a bus or whatever. Along there, because that's where all the fishing is and that's where the surfing is. So why put them down 1.5 k's away to then come down to the coast of the bay? And it says no vehicles. But they literally, they are poking tent, like 2 years ago, they were poking tent pegs in the tar seal. And they were just every week, 1,000 people on the coast. And there's one toilet. Okay, so what they're doing is they're converging on our end, which is for better or for worse, so we're pretty good. But in the picture you've got there, the road used to go straight ahead, and now that road there, because the seas come in, the road goes on a curve. So effectively that's actually on our land title. It wasn't our land title. It still is on our land title, but the not sure what the rules are with the high tide mark and all the rest of it, but it's just like parade to parade. Because there's a wall there, if it came in, does that mean that the people that have got a big apartment on the other side have to give up their apartment land for the council road? Their front garden, I should say, not their apartment, not their actual apartment, but the front road. So we'd just like that acknowledged, and in fact, you're also driving on what's technically public road is now our land. Okay. So in a big picture, when you've got 200 acres, it doesn't really matter. But if you've got all this camping and they're now conversing down further because they can't camp back this way, because on your maps, it's still, because the maps are not updated, the sea's actually come in, you've lost about 20 acres down the coast, yeah, to the sea. So long as the camping can just be confined, and then they won't spill onto our place. Yeah. Yeah, because yeah.
There's no point fencing that because it's just on the ocean.
So, if I can just clarify, what I think you're saying is, we have a map
Yeah.
saying where
We can
camping
do
is allowed,
but
but
let's be,
our map is out.
yeah.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. It's not your fault, it was on for the whatever, yeah.
So you're saying, boundary, camping being moved back.
Well, what are those, well, the camping boundary, you've got your coastal strip and you're allowing it on the seaside.
Yeah.
But there is no coastal strip on the seaside, it's running into the ocean and into the road. So, yeah, so if you could, but if you, there's a couple of posts that used to go out to sea, so there's sort of like a gateway in Victoria's a gate up, because there was a gateway 20 years ago. But there, we could just have some sort of signage saying, no camping beyond this point.
Allow the floating, houses.
Yeah, right, yeah, there's a big fucking log that's turned up there. Yeah, rather than us have to put up private, because we're opposed to, I mean, all the way down the coast there, we've put in styles now, even though the staff and the health and safety is a bit dodgy, and there's a gate there, but Tora, we don't actually like big signs saying keep out, bugger off sort of thing. So what we've done is we've got these cute two little signs on our gate saying, happy for you to walk over, no dogs and please leave no vehicles. Please sign Tora. That's his name, else is name. So rather than have, which we've got down the coast where they keep out a private property, whatever. Yeah. And we get pretty much respect, so we have no problem. Like that Christmas week or last, we had everyone, there was lots of kids, lots of people, we had the chapter of the Mother on the turn up and the flashes, potentially we've seen the light. And they pulled up just after these other guys, Elsie said, yeah, you know, you can stay there. And then these guys pulled up, and by the time we got back down some sheep, they were there and talking, and he goes, oh no, his wife came out and said, oh, we'll give you a co-home. He said, no, just as long as you get on with your neighbours and pick up your rubbish and don't take the dogs or who might have that, you're fine. And honestly, that worked all right, but we don't really want to have that problem because it would stretch into the paddock shortly as well.
Oh, I just say to come in, very much for your community spirit and approaches.
Well, it's been there, I mean, like since, yeah, but people have been going there for years and most people respect it. And if you respect the people, they respect you back, so we're pretty lucky that we, yeah, so we don't want the whole high heavy-handedness that you can't do this and can't do that, and then there has been in the past where the locals don't want this and locals don't want that, but the ones that live right opposite, like literally, C is Pokemanu, and we live here. And that's how close we are to the freedom. The freedom camping starts in the playground on my boundary. So end of our gateway is the public reserve. So they park right up next to our house, and our house, because it's been there 120 years, is 2 metres from the road. It's right on the edge of the road. So yeah, so we live in the Goldfish Bowl, and so we don't really want our stock or buildings with them. It's such. Cool. Yeah.
Thank you, of course, thank you very, very much.
That's what I'm
For your time and for your advice.
Let's bring it. Oh, okay. But it's because all those combined district plan maps. The combined district plan, who does the maps for them? Do you know? Because they have got names on places on these special sites that are not relevant to anywhere near where they are. An example is the scrub just below, the swamp just below it, 3 k's down the road from us, it's called Glenburn Coastal Scrub. It's actually a big swamp, so yeah, a lot of it, called something else would be too, or something else, but it's like, and the one next to it is called the one wetland is out for a bush. Yeah, I can submission. I've already been backwards and forwards to somebody in the district doing Harriet. Somebody, but she's come back to me saying that because I'm worried about that new form if it's malicious, if it's not vexatious or frivolous or not a proper person doing it, or evidence doesn't count. And I'm not a proper person, qualified expertise in naming these things, but they're clearly wrong.
Or I think, really shared,
Who is it?
I think it's fine to put in your,
Do you know who determines this? I mean, it's nothing to do with vice versa, but determines who submissions count and who doesn't?
so it's being managed by Masterton Council,
Oh,
it's a combined district
yeah.
plan, and they're leading the work. We haven't had a massive amount to do with the actual submissions process.
Yeah.
I think that vexatious,
I don't mind the vexatious, but the frivolous and vexatious, I mean, my son buys a $300 t-shirt, that's frivolous. More here is frivolous as far as we're concerned, but that's where. That's one more.
it's combined, it's not now, we don't use that, and I think one of the things is that when you get submissions, you can get
Oh, nasty ones, yeah, totally.
so it's just making sure that people are aware.
Yeah, those two
Everything on my
things.
standard.
Yeah, but the two in the middle was fine, that was looking at that, but the top one, which was the frivolous or vexatious, and it's like, oh, come on. And the bottom one about how you have to have an expert that's not attached to you, and just the submission form was pretty hostile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's like that's serious. Forms are higher than form 21, there in the spare time, so.
Well, I was aiming to make a note
Oh,
of
thank
your
you.
observation of
Yeah.
the where your place names on the regional one.
Perfect.
And she will take it in.
Oh, perfect, thank you very much. Yeah, I know it's not to get this, I don't just swear, but yeah, it's like, cheers.
So. Yes, so we now come on to the bylaw hearings report, page 4, in my agenda. And page 4. And I will move that we receive the Freedom Camp bylaw hearings report. That's so great, thank you. So, because
We have them really online. Yes. So they're online in case you've got any questions.
And the audio is catchy.
I don't think they turned on. Normally when they turned on, it's kind of.
That's, you know,
That's on.
they're just not lighting up, and I have to take it. And I have like the TV.
So we have to yell.
We do have to project it because the ceilings are so high. But if I think it's great, it is not muted. But it's just patchy.
Well, it's only picking up the audio from here. I don't think it's picking up the audio from the same license down in the second one. So I don't know.
Well, I think it's one we need and me. But I'm making a backup recording on my laptop. So I still need people to.
So we've got Emma and Natalie on the board, online, and we've got Rick here obviously as well. The purpose of the hearings report obviously is just to give you a bit of a picture of the submissions that have happened. We're very lucky to have Emma and Natalie leading this project for us, and they, before they went out for consultation, did some pre-consultation. Helped figure out what the key issues might have been and how we might address them in preparing bylaw. So yeah, I don't know if you've got any other. We've got a very good rate of response, and Aidan and Colin also went out to the coast and met directly with communities, which they very much appreciated. Rick went to that session. I don't know if you want to add anything, Rick.
Which session?
The Torah, we went out to the coast.
Yeah, I think they appreciated the presentation from council. Well, received them, I think, it's something, just everyone's probably, do more often. And as I say, as a community, they really appreciated it. Yeah, and gave really good feedback. It's really great. Welcome to the office.
So I guess the other thing is the next steps from here, as I talked to Natalie and Emma yesterday about timing of the deliberations in the new year. So we're going to set up the ambassadors hopefully very soon. We're working with a couple of communities that have expressed an interest, and that process will run over the holiday period. And then we also had quite a lot of feedback on signage. So that's one of the things that the community are quite keen, and it was quite interesting to hear Jenny's perspective of the tone of signage as well. I think it was really interesting. And Mana Whenua had also expressed a real interest in helping to protect some of the sites of significance through public education, through signage. So that's pretty much some of the feedback that we've heard to this point.
Right.
Natalie.
Greetings, Natalie. Can you hear us?
Morena koutou. Yes, I've been catching what I can. So thank you all for your time this morning. If you have any questions, please let me know. I will endeavour to answer as best I can.
Thank you.
I don't have anything else to add at this point. I was just wondering, is there any, I'm supposed to be recording your response to the resolution presented today? Yes, so that will come in the deliberations report. Right. So it's what we've tended to do, hearings up to this point, is do hearings and deliberations together and give you a deliberations report that kind of gives you a bit of a picture of what the feedback is and do some analysis. We've chosen not to do this with feedback that we've had from council. They'd really like to hear how things go over the summer, with a bit of public education using the ambassador program. So we want to have that information to help inform the decision probably in February.
Sorry, back down here, but so I mean, this is a presentation today to council, so there's no way for us to give any feedback from our response to those presentations.
That would happen at the deliberations report. You can offer it now.
Right. Well, I would just like it recorded, recorded in terms of, our opinion, whether they were good arguments for the cases. But it seems that they give that presentation, that's it. Our response gets lost in the system, it seems.
No, that will add to the minutes this meeting.
I just think possibly what we do is we foreshadow that we note, for example, the strength of whichever submissions we are referring to, and ask them to be given priority.
Yes, that's what I would like.
Yes, that's absolutely right. Now, the second recommendation is that we receive 52 submissions plus a late submission. I don't want to be totally bloody-minded, but I can't see any reason for receiving submission 43 or I forget what the other one was, might have been 23. Sorry, 18. Both of these have got language that I regard as totally unacceptable for and both of those submissions have got language in it. I just think it's acceptable for proceeding such.
Can I
Yes.
speak to that? So it was quite interesting that Jenny brought up the disclaimer that Masterton had used. And we talked about this, I talked about it with Natalie and Emma when we received the submissions about how we manage submissions like that. And we made the call to include and redact the language that was inappropriate. We don't currently have a policy or approach for not receiving submissions that use foul language. It's something we could look at, but we wanted to make sure from a democratic participatory process that their perspective was included without the language.
In case when you redact the language, you redact it out of suspension. We'll leave it.
It's a risk they take.
I still don't think that requires us to receive, we'll speak on it. Just picking it first for the government line. In actual fact, well, I haven't kept a tally. There are several submissions that all discuss government line, so it's pretty clear that the economics of what it is about what might happen. So certainly that the other one was that I think what Jenny's saying is also the way that the name is on, and because the survey hasn't yet up to date, what balance that might be happening is that we may be about to make bylaws that apply to private property, or in this case, her property. Now, there's another submission here also from Dan Riddleton, who also maintains that we are making a bylaw that's covers his land. And I don't understand the full complexity of what he's saying, but I think it looks as though what he thinks is that we've marked out an area, a campground that includes his farm. I think that's what he's saying. I think probably both of those things or activities, well, one can understand how they might have happened, but I think it is undesirable to be starting off with an accurate maps or an accurate delineations of where our camping grounds are. But
I agree. I couldn't quite understand what I thought it's so much what we do. Summary might be useful, but I think the reality is it's too big a job to get the next to be done, isn't it? So, in terms of doing this, or is it possible to get the next to be done? Because I wonder if it is too difficult to get the next to be done, if there's some way of clause in there to say that it could be, it doesn't apply, but it's private land, something that otherwise it's totally unfair. And I don't know, maybe illegal to do this private. So I don't know if the staff can give us some answer. Is there any chance of getting the plans right? But I suspect it's a multi-year project. Or if there's any other legal way of getting around the excluding the private land from this, simplistic way.
Natalie, do you have any thoughts?
Natalie could hear me. Can you hear me, Natalie?
Hi, I'm sorry, I really struggled to follow that conversation. The audio quality was not good. What was the question?
Can you hear us about this? That better?
No, I don't think the microphone is working. I think it only picks up the sound on.
Oh, right. Okay.
On
I talked to that.
Yeah.
Can you hear me if I face this way?
I can hear some. There's a lot of sort of background echo and distortion. That's the issue.
What if you go closer to it?
Testing now. How's that? No, not much.
Try again.
Okay, I'll try. Okay. we were talking about the issue of the maps being out of date, and we're talking about people's private land when we don't think we are talking about people's private land, right? Because of the movement of the sea and the roads and things. I was wondering about, is it all possible to get the maps updated before we do this, or is that just a major job to get the maps accurate?
So firstly, I would say that the maps are indicative, and if there's any discrepancy in the description of the description of the area in words in the bylaw between that and the maps, then the written description prevails. We have struggled to get some GIS resource to assist us through council. So we're working with Amanda on that and trying to find some support potentially from Greater Wellington or from Uston and Carterton.
But you think in most cases the word is the
wording
is correct.
The wording prevails.
Okay, and if there was, like when Jenny was just talking, saying that there was a discrepancy between the map, you think she was just talking about the picture, not the words?
I didn't manage to follow all of Jenny's oral verbal submission. I'm sorry.
Okay, right here.
And I think that may be more of a discussion between council.
Okay, no, that's
about
fine. Well, obviously, maybe you've got the words to somehow get the words right, at least.
So what we can do is we can follow up with this and report back in the deliberations report.
And you have any observation? What to discuss?
So with the Flora one, it's, for one of the better word, is moving beast literally. The erosion there, even over the 5 years I've been here, has seen a massive change in what we originally identified as for camping. And when I went out there the other day, I was talking to Alistair / Dora, and he was indicating even from the Kaikoura earthquake and some earthquakes, the movement of land has seen a lot of the sand come up what used to be the grass area at the front. And they're correct in saying that thus people were then moving to the right hand side, which is either onto the road or to the Orleans property as well. So even in the short period of time I've been here, there has been a massive erosion zone that's actually crept back. I'm no scientific person, but it's not a fast pitch to say that it's stopped all of a sudden. And that is going to be an interesting part where we would have identified 10 years ago. So when they were talking about caravans, all those caravans would be currently underwater. And so that's seen the erosion of that land that far. Where that ends, I don't know. So I don't know how, in a legal point of view of the bylaw, other than you've described somewhere where you can't do it physically. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, well, I think what I was coming to was, are we about to mark out or delineate block of land for freedom camping that's actually not possible for freedom camp there, and thus will encourage people to encroach on neighbouring properties? I think that's the yeah.
We have to try and not do these things.
We don't want to.
Yeah, it's an interesting dilemma because I mean I think with if you're predicting coastal erosion in the next 10 years, we can draw the line. But I think particularly for that area, I think you're safe to bet that what we're looking at today in 3 to 5 years may not be relevant because it won't be there. And see the point that are we actually encouraging the people going onto other people's private land, which else we can't do. But it's for the deliberation in place of those who do the thing.
And in practice, in my imagination, the thing that will cause the grief will be the sign people will see the sign, if they get an idea that it's permitted, giving them permission to, and then they'll take that as the gospel. And
Yeah, fully agree. I think that was a relevant point, and I don't know if it was the first submittal or the second submittal that said, are you now proactively advertising an area which before was a 50-50 call, but if you see someone, you go there. And I know for a fact, and Tora especially, is that when the seas or the crowd is large, they already push into the wounds, and it's just by their good grace that they've allowed people, they understand, and their biggest concern is by the time you've gone, as long as I don't know you've been there, you know, we've got no issue, but that relies on the good grace of those that are campus. And I think their concern is if that becomes the normal, the expectation over the last 3 years I've camped here at this spot wasn't more of an issue. I think that's where their concern comes from.
Amanda, do you think there are any other themes coming through the submissions that we need to focus on at this time?
Just something that one of the submitters raised was this idea of how you police preemptives.
Yes.
And I guess and I'd be interested in hearing what Rick might say to this. The purpose of putting a 28-day limit is to avoid somebody permanently camping in a spot for a long period of time and basically establishing a camp. It's not necessarily that there's going to be a mechanism for you guys, I don't think, to go that person's been here for 5 days, they've gone away, now they're back in another 5 days. I think that would be quite difficult to police, but it's the idea that we potentially have people who are almost protecting our patch of land for their campsite.
So a comment was brought up that originally there were caravans that were perfectly there at Tora, and that was exactly the reason, is that basically people were demarcating, this is my camping area, has been for the last 10 years, it's going to be mine now. So they were removed to free that up, so it's a first and first served basis, and that's why the removal of those caravans for the tents only scenario. As technology and people's want has improved in terms of they like RVs and caravans. We haven't seen this, so they're becoming more self-contained and self-sufficient, and are more mobile than they can be.
Just what you're saying, excuse me, is that we have policed it in the past.
Yes, so we do. We do it in a interesting manner. So I have two regulatory officers for which over the statutory period and holiday period, their predominant calling is for animal control. And part of that is that we've been the council's visual enforcement officer through the coast that we've had either it's on a reactive basis, so if we've had complaints about it, and that might be do amenities favour as well. So we have rubbish or emptying of in the toilets, dogs and campgrounds. So they sort of encompass that because it's a long trip and there's no point 3 of us going out there. So we sort of liaise between that in terms of it. So it's not. It's been added without actually being truly costed, and that's one of the big things that we found is the fact that both driver fatigue or health and safety for employees, but also the time and distance of what we're doing out there has had a financial and well-being cost to us that we've never factored in. So we're currently looking at how we're doing that, and part of that conversation was when I was out in Aoi and Tora was to see if we can get some local ambassadors, because it generally is they ring up and say, there's a group here that's camping here, by the time we get there, they've gone. So we've gone out there, they've gone and moved on. And it's always 5 months after we've come back, we get another call. So we're trying to get locals who will use an educative local flavour to where they can actually explain to people, hey, look, if you go 10 metres down the road, you know, we've got a camping reserve that's there. So that's the new model we're testing for this year, and trying to provide some better data back to council of costs and effectiveness of where we're going.
Yeah. Okay, no, that's good. Yeah, I mean, you raised a good point there too. An awful lot of policing in the country takes place because somebody complains or draws the police attention to a problem. They're not just hanging around waiting for a burglar. We're not that much different.
No, I think it's cost effectiveness as well. I mean, it's trying to be a jack of all trades. When you're in those times, you know, so as I do, the pressures on councils to provide resources so that every single activity is at times cost prohibitive, so we do the best we can before we go.
Yes, we appreciate that. Councillors, any further comments? So I think what we do is anybody else offended by the language? Not take recommendations 2 to 5, I think, as a collective. So what we'll do is firstly vote in favour of pleading. So then let's move to receive 52 submissions. Receive one from Agent Beverly, receive one late submission, and noted that 2 weeks on their submissions and 5 submissions received. Okay, all in favour, please. So we come down to number 6, where I think we do want to fit. And if we just so the first thing is that we would like advice by
Sections around distance between dump stations.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is a specific area that's been identified, and I wonder if there's other areas in the district around that. But we're making this a variation specific to design, or if it's specific to dump stations.
Yeah, these machines other than explain that they what but not do anything to try and find out if there are other barrel codes and that
Marshall, is there anything on the other? Yeah, there is.
So there's one in Featherston on Johnson Street opposite the dog park. So between the train station, the Empire Hotel, and the car reserve, there's a specific self-contained dump stations. It's typically waste.
That's quite a lot of space.
Yeah, but it's not quite good turning, but winter is like everything, you know, when the burns get those solid, it does cause an issue. And there's one in Greytown, and for the life of me, I can't think exactly where it is.
right, just on the southern entrance.
Right.
I believe.
Yeah.
And it's well seen. It's like, I suppose the question about the people backing into private property comes about. Vintners Lane is obviously a one-way street. Are there other one-way streets that we're going to say, here, come and park here and read people's drives when you get out? I think that's.
If I think it's more than narrowness and I think it's unsealed, then yeah, of course, I think the other ones seem to quite have this issue. I think it's more of a lane issue more than the.
Yes. I want that with the sector to ask how much.
Probably quite a lot.
I'll do it.
And because it's like a little, I'm not sure what's this, but like a little petrol station. Sort of, with quite a lot of space each side of it, it's really.
Okay, so in terms of recommendations, so it's what we can.
If, so sorry, do we include that? So we're very big, I think it's just, this one's just particular to this characteristics of
Yes.
the name.
And it's come up several times in this session, so.
Horses that come up to.
And now we've also got the other problem, how do we make sure that our bylaws don't either impinge on private property or encourage impinging on private property? Yeah. So the recommendation reads at the moment, request any further information and with clarification required from council staff prior to the meeting to be scheduled for early 2024 for the deliberation of the freedom camping bylaw, and then if we can say in particular with respect to A, business lane, B, impinging on private property.
I was wondering if the issue with not impinging on private property, would that only change the coastal areas? Or do you think it could be other reasons we might have had this the bylaw sending people onto private property? I thought it's just the coast where changes occurred. See,
I think it would be, my humble opinion, it'd be on safe ground if the bylaw was that you right.
yeah,
Whether it's coastal, yeah.
yeah, I could do your purpose and sorts too.
Yeah.
But I think we're probably reasonably safe when it comes to the villages. I think we know where our parks are. I think.
Yes.
But anything.
Which is surprised me that other lanes have come up because we've seen that sort of little lane private road or Murray Road, which is I just Goosey Road. I've never gone down next to it, but there used to be people doing all kind of stuff up there, and it's you know, seems to be rural, urban rural. Yeah, so I'm quite surprised other people show you that it's actually a particular day.
Okay, well, I will move recommendation 6 and I can see. I do think it's a move. Can you read it back to us, please?
Request further information and or clarification from us prior to this meeting to be scheduled in early 2024. The deliberations of the freedom camping bylaw, in particular, A, business lane, and B, ensuring that the bylaw does not impinge on private properties.
Favourite, please, Kelly. Yes. Aaron, thank you. Believe that brings us to the third meeting. What do you think?
Yep.
Thank you to everyone, Amanda and Natalie, who probably can't hear anything. We appreciate your presence. Thank you very much. So I'll just finish with a closing go here. Kua mutu amata pai. Our work has finished. For tene wā, anaka pia mai mātou katoa, for mātou koa, for mātou whānau, ITT, affects us all, friends and family, at Eastern University. Thank you very much.
That's